Would you like to be counted in?
Yeah, let's do that. This is always anticipation.
3, 2, 1.
Come in, we're open. Honest conversations with Austin Langley. Smooth jazz on Thursday nights. Today, welcome to Come In, We're Open. This episode, we are joined with the most fabulous Kelsey Rosen.
Hi,
thank you. Round of applause. Place is going crazy. I guess we'll have to open up. Oh, yeah, there they are. Yeah. I will have to open up by saying, you are joy in the Denver comedy scene.
Oh shit! Thank you.
You've moved here. How long have you been here?
I moved here October 1st. And I went to my first open mic October 3rd.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Jake's Roadhouse in Arvada.
Oh,
Arvada?
Yeah.
But thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah, you. I've been through just a couple comedy scenes, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks, like intertwining, or at least like feel like you're bonding with other people. Like it took me months, especially into Denver's comedy scene, that I did not feel welcome, comfortable, like in a rhythm or momentum where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Where I just was like, this is defeating. This is pointless. But you came in, guns a-blazing, ready to rip. I think you've been crushing it for sure.
Thank you.
And yeah, a joy to hang out with.
Thank you.
I feel like when she came in, she came exactly as Kelsey. There was
That's
no pretending to be anybody
compliment
else.
in the world. Thank you.
I feel like I met you in the first conversation.
For sure.
It was rough. I think I am always so gung-ho for adventure. So I am not from Asheville, North Carolina, but I lived there for 4 years. That's where I started comedy. And I loved it. Like, it totally spoiled me. It was an awesome scene. It's how I made all my friends in Asheville.
A little bit smaller.
Oh, way smaller.
Way smaller,
for
yeah.
sure. Way smaller, but really good bookers there. And what had happened is, so I had moved from Chicago to Asheville. And when I was in Chicago, I fell in love with improv, but I was too much of a wimp to do it.
Well, Chicago's got history, you know? Like, the improv scene that's come from Chicago is intimidating.
So I fell in love with it, and then when I moved to Asheville, I didn't know anyone. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do the thing. Like, I'm already freaked out. I'm going to do the thing that's always freaked me out.
Yeah.
And I signed up for improv class. And I did that for 2 years. And then we had friends that mix. Like improv people were going into stand-up and vice versa. Well, no, that's not true. No stand-up people do improv. But
it's there. It's there.
But regardless, so when I moved here, that's how I had made all my friends in Asheville. And then when I moved here, I really was not having a fun time the first month or so.
Yeah.
But I knew, I just knew, you keep showing up and this community, you kind of have built in friends, which is the best thing. And yeah, I'm only 3 months in, but I really like y'all. There's so many people I really like, and I'm like, oh, I'm friends with them, I think.
Yeah. It's 100%. It's true, and I feel like Denver scene has transformed in ways because, like I said, I felt very standoffish. There was already so many people here that were like, with COVID, it was kind of like not even a fresh start. It just was almost like we're all in this together kind of feeling.
Where it was described as a reset.
It was a reset for sure.
Yeah.
And people, people are shining, and it's great. Right now, Denver comedy scene, I would put up against any other scene right now.
Well, that was the thing too. When I knew I wanted to move to a bigger city, but I also didn't want to make the LA or New York jump. So I just kind of started asking everyone, like, where would you go? Like other comics that were touring through Asheville. And I'd be like, where would you go? And everyone said Denver. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll do Denver then.
Well, that and the amount of free stage time, the amount of like shows that are happening.
Yeah.
The amount of just like growing that's happening. It's a productive, if you want to grind, you can do it, you know?
I think it helps that a lot of like professionals will also cite Denver as one of their favorite places to go.
Yeah.
And that was a big influence to me. Because they were like, the crowds there are great, the people are great, the owners of the clubs, really work with the scene. And I thought that was like, that's one of the things that got me here. Yeah, for sure.
Anywho, I've just been, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
It's been a joy to hang out with you.
Thank you so much.
And that, that laugh.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites in the audience. I once had a wireless mic at Rise Theater, and I ran into the green room and I was doing comedy to like nobody, but the audience was still laughing.
Is this when you were filming that video?
Yeah, I was like, but I could still hear your laugh. And I was like through a wall and a half. I was like, I'm still getting laughs. I have Kelsey's. So
you can hear my laugh like 2 miles away.
No, and it's like even just at Mike's, or even like when you come to Scruffy Murphy's when I'm like hosting, like I know it's a genuine laugh. So it's like, that's something, I'm doing something right. It's not someone's like fake ass like, oh, whatever, buddy.
Oh my God.
And like, I get those too, but that's.
If I was fake laughing, y'all would know. Well, that's the problem with having a very recognizable laugh, is that when you're not laughing, it's also.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until one of my really good friends in Asheville was like, guess you don't like my new material. And I was like, oh shit, what are you talking about? He was like, you weren't laughing. And I was like, oh, I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. You're like, no, it's not your material I don't care about. It's you I don't care about.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Better things to do. I'm so sorry.
People start having like a Kelsey laugh per minute.
Yeah.
Gauge.
Oh, yeah. If you, for sure. Well, and I have like friends. I had a friend back home. She just snorts. And when like the snorts kick in, I'm like, I'm crushing right now.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm doing something right, because like you don't want to even fake a snort. Like if that's your fake, if that's your, so.
I have a laugh that is like, if the laughs where you just can't breathe.
Yeah.
That laugh for me is a very unattractive laugh. It's just like
just wheezing.
Yeah, 100%.
Just Jimmy Carr, but extended.
It's like a very gross wheeze, and people are like, "Are you?" And then I start coughing, and people are like, "Are you alive?"
That's rad. So that's the craziest thing about laughter is like, it's supposed to be uncontrolled, or at least like you're not in control of it.
Involuntary.
And it's like genuine, and it just happens. Like you're not. But. Before we started this, you had informed me that you at one point hid your laughter from the public.
Yeah.
That joyous noise you release that beautiful noise you release when yeah.
Oh, good segue. I see what you're doing now.
Oh yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah. Hey yo.
Hey.
I had planned.
Whoa.
So,
did you mean any of that? No, I'm kidding.
Yes, I did. This is an honest podcast, Kelsey.
Yeah,
no matter what I say, it's honest. It's honest conversations with Austin.
True.
But rumor has it, word on the street, and a lot of people were talking about it. I've heard it. They were like, there was a point where I want her laugh, and then she could, yeah.
Yeah. There would have been a point, and my memory is crap. But I would say it was for a year or two, probably 17 and 18 years old, where I just didn't laugh. And I didn't know it was happening. And then I didn't know it was happening because I was just going through like really bad mental health stuff.
Well, in 18, 19, that's a weird age to even deal with feelings.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you don't even want to address them, or you don't want to like talk about it up front or
Yeah.
whatever it is. You don't even know what the fuck is happening.
Yeah, you're
most of the
confused
time.
by them in general.
Yeah, you're like, things are going on,
I know.
and I have no idea why, or I'm going to even talk about it to anybody.
Did you have like open parents that you could talk with? about
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
That helps.
For the most part. So there was definitely a switch where it was like Kelsey and then a different human being living in the house. And I have a younger brother and 2 parents, and it was definitely like I look back on it and I'm very grateful to them because I can't imagine how hard that would have been.
It's just like overnight too.
Basically, yeah. I mean, there are signs. Like I look back, and there are signs. But I was 16 or 17 when I was diagnosed with OCD.
Yeah.
And
Was it immediate?
it was totally different.
Was it immediate? Like, hey, here's some medication, or like anything like that?
It wasn't immediate medication. I remember, like me and myself, like I truly had no idea what was going on. I just knew I was afraid of everything. There was like one corner of my room I would stand in. I specifically, it started off with contamination OCD. So I was just petrified of germs.
Is there an incident that you remember that like that started the germaphobe thing?
Oh.
Like a commercial or like a documentary?
I don't remember the like a specific event, but I will say, and this is a little sciencey, and it's science that I am not well read on, although I do know it's true. It's not like bunk science, but when you have like teenage years, if you had like I had just had mono, and there are a bunch of scientific studies that show a disease like mono will kick off like if you have like some dormant OCD in your brain, something about that like changes your brain structure that like kicks the OCD into high gear. So, and it was true. Like I got mono, and then like that's where my memory gets hazy, and my mom will be like, it was night and day.
Yeah.
And she was the one, she went online and essentially like took a quiz that was like, are
for
you?
Yeah.
And then she got me into therapy real quick.
Yeah.
And my dad, I love my dad very, very much. My dad was like, no daughter of mine is going to therapy.
Old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was raised like, I mean, talk about like generational trauma shit. Like very.
Oh, he still lives to this day without addressing feelings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was raised youngest of 5 in like a very, very poor Irish Catholic family in Youngstown, Ohio. And he had 2 sisters that were drug addicts. And his older brother was in a fatal car accident when he was 17 years old. And
But no one needed therapy.
No.
No one needed to talk about anything.
No. Hence, like, standing in the driveway screaming with my dad, no daughter of mine's going to therapy. Like,
it's so funny that, like, even just arguing against help.
Oh,
or, like,
Jesus.
it'd be like, hey, I'm dealing with some things. I don't know. I just need someone or something.
But I can see how he's sizing up his experience to, like, she had mono.
Yeah. It was a sickness.
Nobody died.
I will say, just in case we don't get to it later, I am really fucking proud of my dad, and he would literally kill me for saying this, but he started therapy this year. Yeah. So homeboy like came around. It took a long time. He is 68 years old.
Imagine the array of baggage that is just waiting at that exit, you know?
He's got like emotional blue balls.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes he'll be like, and this is common, I know, with therapy. Like, do y'all feel comfortable with me? Well, I guess that's the name of the game, right? Are you guys in therapy?
I am not.
Okay. Have you ever?
It was, in my younger age when I was dealing with some, I don't know, 13, 14, 15-year-old. But I was like, it was almost like too forced upon me, where I was like a rebellious piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Kind of old school too, where it just like, it didn't feel like, it made me feel different for going to therapy.
Yeah.
And I was I was dosed with Ritalin at a young age. I think I had trust issues with people that just like, oh, this is good for you. And they're like, no, that's not. But that, not currently. Okay. There's people I enjoy talking to that I feel is, and I'm not going to say comedy's therapeutic, even though aspects of it are, but it's not what I rely on.
Yes.
You know?
I agree. Yeah.
It can't be your therapy.
No,
like,
and it's not like I'm wacky on stage. Like, it's not like I'm doing therapeutic
like,
comedy.
Things that I talk about in therapy are definitely on stage, and then I will go back to my therapist and be like, I crushed it. Kind of work. Like, I talked to her about the Scruffy Murphy shit on Tuesday because that is something I've been working on for a year, and then I was like, oh, by the way, I don't think I've ever told you I was sexually assaulted. Well, I made a great bit about it.
You also yelled at at like 9 dudes who were looking to take home some tail the other night at a dive bar. I was laughing so hard. It was so funny because it was like a mic house, and you didn't like come out like real hot, and then they started acting up, and you were like, "Sit down, you," and then you were like, "Come," and I was just like, I was dying. I was like, "This is so good." Then with the premise too about having to watch a funny movie afterwards, is a story that like. I mean, I really want to see that polished for sure. Because it is.
Thank you.
Because when you were in the moment, and I don't know if it was the first time you had said it, but it definitely had energy behind it.
Yeah.
I just had to go up and be like, Kelsey was just released from quarantine.
So
been waiting 2 weeks to say something. And
so true. Well, it was one of those things. And I mean, like, I don't want to like make your ego out of control or something. But that day I listened to your podcast with Hannah and you guys talk about that, like the process of how do you get some stuff on stage and you try it and it doesn't work. And you very much realize, like for me, that was a joke I wrote a year ago.
Yeah.
And I think I probably tried it a year ago and I probably tried it 7 months ago. And those are the 2 times I've touched it, but I've done it in my head a million times. And I've thought like, maybe if I change this structure, do this, or put it in this order.
I was about to say, you probably like have been going through this. I was literally going to say, like, a year ago, you may not have been able to do it the same way.
I was not good enough to do it a year ago.
Spelt that whole out. You literally went through that.
I also don't, like, I was good enough to do it on Tuesday. I don't know if I'll be good enough to do it next week. But it was one of those things where I listened to your podcast and you guys were talking about that. And I was like, oh, fuck. It's like they're daring me. Like Kelsey, so I was like, I'm going to go. It's got to be Scruffy. I got to do it. And I looked at Kakuna before and I was like, I'm so nervous. And she was like,
you said that to me too. And I was like, why?
And
I didn't know you were doing new material.
And everyone was like, what are you talking about? And not only was I doing new material, but I wanted to chicken out so bad because of those dudes.
It was an intimidating audience.
But that's like, you can only do it. Like if you want to do something and you're scared about doing it, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I was like truly like shaking.
That's dope though, that you still went up. Because like I said, I felt the energy behind it. And it was such a real, honest story.
Yeah.
To where like no one else.
I feel like you jumped out of a plane. Like you didn't even know how it would land.
Yeah.
And you were like, I was very nervous. I had no clue what it was going to.
Freaked out.
But it sounds like you landed. Yeah. You know,
I
was to the point where you were happy with it, you know?
Oh, I was so happy.
Which is most important. When it comes to one of those kinds of bits, like one of those kinds of premises where it is a personal thing, like it really shouldn't even matter sometimes how the crowd receives it.
And 100% it was not polished. And that's like the thing.
I was laughing so hard.
That's the thing for me that I like to balance. Like that story needs anger in it.
For sure.
But you also can't go on stage and just be screaming at people. Like it still has to be a joke.
It definitely.
That, like I feel like I kind of struck like that very chaotic anger energy, but still started it off with all my easy shit to win people over. And then I was like, oh, you fucking jerk off in people's faces.
Well, and then the best part was those 7 guys. When you started getting real, like it was just a change in the room where it was like, I don't know, you just know that it's being honest. Where it's like people are like, oh, this is real.
I'm sweating just like thinking about it. But
it was so funny.
I also talk about like the feminine urge to diffuse a situation. I don't know if this even registered with you, but when that was over, I looked to you because I know you run a very good mic, but you're not like an asshole about time. You're not like, hello, Kelsey. You were like, she's doing new material.
Well, and if you're like, and at Scruffy Murphy's, if you're getting laughs, I'll let you roll.
But I remember looking at you and being like, can I do one more? And the reason I asked that is because I was like, I have to go back to something safe.
Silly.
I have to go back to something safe and like diffuse. And you're like, no, get the fuck off. Like you did it. I think you said something like that.
No, I think it was just the energy was so high where I was like, there's no way what you're going to say. Whatever this joke, it wasn't that I didn't believe in you. No, I think it paid off too.
No, that's what I meant. Like looking back, I appreciate that so much because you read the situation. Like, you were like, no, she fucking hit it, and this is great, and let's wrap it up. And for me, it was just that, like, oh, I want to make sure everyone likes me, so I'll do one joke that makes everyone happy afterwards, instead of being like 100% confident of like, oh, I just like my brain just went into diffuse the situation. And I remember looking at you and you're like, and I will forever be grateful for that because I got to leave on like a fuck yeah.
Because there's points in like sets that I definitely like wish I would have left on. Yeah. Or I've seen it so many times where people will be like, get an applause break or like have a killer joke and then be like, well, my dick, and you're like, was it worth it? Like, you just smashed a joke. Like, even, I watched a comic, I won't even name drop, but tell a very open, honest story recently, and crush, and it was like a story that no one else could be able to tell. Yeah. It's from, like, the life that he actually lived, and everyone was, like, loving it, was like, this is amazing. And then he just goes in, and he's just like, whoa. And then this guy just jerking off, and it's like the next bit's about I'm like, dude,
don't
do it. I give you 4 minutes, and you crush for 3:30, and then you have to talk about your dick still. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Those dudes, like in the audience, came up and gave me hugs. There, they were like, "We fucking love you."
Sometimes it's just the inner. Yeah.
I wonder if they heard it though.
They
like I wonder if they heard
it or if they listened.
Yeah. No, because I was watching the reaction at one point because it was funny to see a bunch of like bro dudes that have probably been in some iffy situations and watch a woman talk about an iffy situation that she was a part of. So I don't know. I thought they also had fun too.
They were respectful while I was on stage for sure. I was nervous as all get out, especially when I was like
into the new material,
asking them like, "Oh, is that? So what do you like?" It's just
and like that. Yeah, that story alone, like it already has. It's a solid 3 acts. You like it'll be great, and
thank you.
It'll be
I'm
great.
Stoked it worked, but but like with that, to like long story short or short story long, I talked to my therapist about it the next day and was like, oh, I fucking crushed last night, and she was like, okay, well, what was the joke? And like,
it never worked.
This isn't what we're here for, but sure. And I was like, oh yeah, did I ever tell you I was sexually assaulted? And she was like, what the fuck? Like, can we talk about that and not your set? And I'm like, oh no, I've like got it.
No, we've already processed it. And it's gonna come out great. You're not even gonna laugh at it, lady. That's funny.
Oh Lord.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, back to 1819. You started.
I thought you meant 1819 like I was very old.
No. 1819.
Yeah.
Kelsey was enjoying.
This is the character portion where we all get into revolutionary outfits.
Talk about insecurities. I'm immediately like, are you calling me old? Like, fuck you.
1819.
That would be so old.
Yeah, that would be.
That's so old.
It's funny because I made fun of the last guest for being old.
Yeah.
Jeff Cohen. I just said,
Oh, yeah.
I think he has you beat.
I said when I picture him as a child, it's in black and white.
That is so good.
Anyways.
You were talking about OCD.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
18, 19
yes.
years old.
Were there any specific flare-ups in the beginning that you were like recognizing this is like different behavior?
Yeah, I truly felt not who I was. And it was really scary the first time around. And this is why I like to talk about OCD too, because I do like get really prickly when people are like, I'm so OCD. It's like, I doubt it. Like,
I was crippled by it. I didn't laugh. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, like, some of my original fears, I was petrified of getting a blood-borne disease, so I stopped eating.
It's always a health. I mean, I've done that for weeks.
Yeah, I stopped. I think I lost like 20 pounds in 8 or 9 days.
That's crazy.
You said irrational fears were something that you dealt with.
Yeah, OCD. I guess if I'm like, you can't say you're OCD. I guess I should say what it is. But yeah, it's a like constant irrational fears that some people have something called pure O, which is just the pure obsession, which means you're ruminating and a constant like irrational thoughts are going through your head. And then there's also the OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, where you're then doing compulsions to make yourself feel safe or feel better. So for me, I guess one of my compulsions was I just stopped eating, specifically any food that had something red in it.
What? That's
because I thought it was blood.
Oh.
So I just stopped eating, and so like my parents would give me food, and then I would throw it away, and they would find the food in the trash. And then obviously, if someone's losing 20 pounds that quickly, you're like, what's going on? I also worked. Like I always work. I worked since I was 14 years old. So the job thing was weird because I was very afraid of basically any germ. Like I would see a trash can and just assume there was some deadly disease in there waiting for me to bump into the trash can.
Like one of those medical trash cans in a hospital. It's just full of contaminants.
Yeah. So I remember at work, the compulsion or like the fear was that I would knock into a trash can. And the compulsion for me then was just to ask everybody constantly, did I touch that? Did I touch that? And I worked in an ice cream store. So I would like scoop a scoop of ice cream and go bring it to a customer and then like harass all the other 17-year-olds that work there. Was like, did I bump into the trash can? Did I bump? Do you think there's HIV in the trash can? Do you think there's a used needle in the trash can? Do you think someone jerked off in the trash can? Like, it was just so bonkers. Definitely when I started, I was
going to say, did you ever go through the trash can? But that sounds like the worst fear of all, like facing it, like looking through the thing that you fear the most.
I have in my life and not in a good way, not in like, I'm going to face my fears and do the scary thing in a way where it's just like, you just get caught in these loops. So it was like, maybe I was nervous about bumping into this trash can. So I had to ask so-and-so, and then I asked so-and-so. And then I would look at it and I would always gauge my distance to something and be like, well, if I'm this far away, then there's no way. I'll just avoid it. Like I'll avoid walking there. And that eventually just turns into like, you don't trust anything. You don't trust anything in your brain, which then compels you to like, well, I might as well see what's in the trash can because your brain's already telling you the worst thing happened. Oh, it's horrible. It's so gross. It's so gross.
And how old were you when you worked at the ice cream shop?
I started there when I was like 14, 15 years old. So I had been there for a while.
And that's when like the OCD was strong and you didn't even... So these are just like kid thoughts almost that you've taken too far.
Yeah. And so, yeah, a big one was like at home, not eating, being at work. and being petrified of touching anything. It got to the point where I was also afraid of touching just anybody. So, like, in my family or at work, I was just like, don't come near me. Don't come up to me.
What about, you said something about hand washing.
Yeah.
Does that go into that?
It does.
Wait, is this before the mono thing?
No, this is all after mono.
This is after the mono.
Yeah, this is all after mono.
Okay.
100%.
I was just wondering if you had those tendencies before the mono and then that flared.
There's signs. Yeah. Like, there's definitely signs. Like, when I was a little baby kid, and you know, when you're a kid and you go to sleepovers and stuff, I would go to sleepovers, but I could never sleep because I thought that my house would catch on fire, and then if I wasn't home, my entire family would die. But if I was home, I'd be able to wake them all up and be like, you know, I'd like save the day and be a hero. I'd be like, bye. Like, I saved y'all. And it was just like those, like I meant to look up the stat before I came, but it's something, no one quote me on this, but it's something crazy. Like, of the millions of thoughts we have a day, I think 70 of them are negative. And then and
those are the ones that we recognize the most, though.
Yeah. But you should also be able to be like, all right, like, have you ever thought of something insane where in your head you're like, oh, did I just run someone over, or did I do this? And you're very easily able to be like, no, I didn't do that. And you move on.
I have it with red lights. I go through green lights all the time.
Yeah.
And I blame it on being a stoner. I'll inform you of my short few OCD orders I still just came like, no, it's because I smoke too much weed.
So do you want to know the stat real quick?
Yes.
According to the National Science Foundation, an average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day.
Okay.
And of those, 80% are negative.
Wow.
Oh, 80%.
80% are negative, and 95 are repetitive.
So
you only have 5 original thoughts a day.
Isn't that crazy?
Huh.
And then with OCD, you just really go down the wormhole. Like,
yeah.
And instead of having a repetitive thought of like, did I lock the door? There have been days where I stand at my front door for 2 hours and I'm just like, did I lock it? Did I lock it? Did I lock it? Did I lock it?
So, yeah, that's also...
I go to my car. I'm like, oh, I don't think it's locked. I go back to my car. Did I lock it? Did I lock it? It's bizarro. It's so bizarro.
So locking the door is one of mine. I get 3 blocks away and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't lock the door.
Yeah.
It's almost worth it just to walk back, make sure it's locked, and then feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I've started doing a little whistle when I lock the door. So I lock the door and I go...
So you remember.
And so then when I get 3 blocks away and I just go... But it's a weird one because I still just blame it on being a stoner. I don't know. I haven't even admitted to this OCD thing. But you might have me thinking...
Yeah.
You might have me thinking...
well, it's probably one of those things where it's like people have different amounts of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I mean, I'm not...
Where to be even diagnosed, it probably has to be an over-consuming...
Yeah,
amounts of your personality.
100% agree that we all have those things.
Tendencies.
That we have magical thinking around or irrational fears around. I think with OCD, the definition is that it has to essentially like take up, I think it's like 3 to 12 hours of your day. Like, so if you're standing if you're doing the whistle thing for 3 hours, go see a therapist. If you're doing the whistle thing and you're like, that's not super necessary, but it's gonna make me not 5 minutes late to something, then do it.
Do you think the original like superstitions came from like an OCD compulsion where it was like I have to touch this thing 3 times or else the devil's gonna get me?
Or or like my whistle thing is like the one person's touch the doorknob 3 times thing.
Well, I've talked to another comic who is diagnosed with OCD. And him and I were like, it was one of my first big shows ever. Like I was featuring for him.
Yeah.
And he talks about OCD in his act and I do as well. And so we were talking afterwards and we were kind of like trading secrets. And he had a locked door thing and I had a locked door thing. So he was like, oh, you know what I do is I just, twist the handle and jump against the door so violently that by the time he's in his car, he's like, oh, well, my shoulder hurts. So I know.
That's so funny.
And I was like, oh, I just film it. I film it now. Like, I will film myself locking the door. So then if
you have evidence.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I could talk forever, but that's also the therapy for OCD is called exposure response prevention therapy. So in that instance, the exposure therapy would be don't film it. Don't go back and check. No matter how sick to your stomach you feel, don't do it because you have to retrain your brain.
That's the version of facing the fear.
Yeah,
not looking in the trash can.
It's not looking in the trash can, eating the goddamn Subway sub with tomatoes on it. You know, like
no marinara. Nothing red. No Twizzlers.
There was a point where I was seriously like standing in the corner of my room. I was afraid to put clothes on in case clothes had stuff. It was seriously my parents didn't think I'd be able to leave the house. They were like,
live on your own.
Yeah, they were like, okay, well, and you guys know me now. It's just so vastly different. My parents were like I just applied to colleges. I had gotten into a college in Chicago, and they were like, well, she's going to be an adult who lives at home. And it was during that whole time where I was just so scared and not myself the whole time. And I did end up going to college, and it was talk about like a bit of exposure therapy. But I remember coming home for Christmas break and seeing my really good friend Maddie, and she told me and I had been in therapy and was on medication at that point to like help with the therapy. And her and I hung out, and I remember I started laughing. Like she said something, and I started laughing, and she burst into tears. And I was like, "What? Why are you crying?" Like, that was funny. And she was like, Kelsey, I haven't heard you laugh for 2 years. And I was like, oh shit, things got bad. And I think part of my coping mechanism is just like my memory is really hazy around it because it's like, why would I want to remember not laughing for 2 years, you know?
Even your friends seem to have thought she lost you for a second, probably. Like getting you back, hearing
family,
that. Yeah.
Brother, oh my God, my younger brother, I can't, because, you know, he would have been like 15 when I was 17. And I think he was just like, not only because he was scared, I think he was just like, who is this lunatic?
Yeah, I was going to say, did you think you were crazy?
Get her out of my fucking house, you know? But,
and you, in the moment, you didn't even realize that you weren't like laughing. It was almost like a brainwash.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the medication, or do you think that was the OCD?
Oh, that was the OCD.
That was the OCD.
That was
where you were just terrified, basically.
Just terrified constantly.
Constantly.
Because I was never present. Like I was never.
You're always in your thoughts.
Available to laugh, because if you told me a joke, I was thinking about something that had happened 3 hours ago, and just replaying that memory over and over and over and over and over again.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah. Oh, and then the hand washing thing. Yeah, like, oh man, this would have been mostly in high school and college. I haven't done this for ages because of exposure therapy and stuff, but I would go through an entire bottle of soap in a day.
A day?
Yeah.
Were your hands like dried out?
Oh, yeah. My hands were like bloody stumps.
They would bleed.
Poor hands.
I lived in Chicago. Like Chicago
just
winters. Dry hands that I've washed a million times. And it's just like, and you know, irrationally you look at that and you're like, that doesn't make sense, because if you have open wounds on your hand, you're more likely to get some germs in there.
What age was the hand washing thing?
You said that was college?
That was one of the like first signs. Like one of the first ones was hand washing.
So this was in your teenage
it would have
years?
been, I bet that was like senior year of high school and freshman, sophomore year of college.
Damn.
Yeah.
So college was where you really addressed a lot of these things.
Yeah. Like Was
it because of friends? Like people around you that noticed, or was it?
At that point, it was family. Like, that was truly my mom being like, you are going to therapy right now. And I did. I started going to therapy every week. And then I did start, like, a low dose of Lexapro at the time to help. And it did. I think the scariest thing, like, looking back then, is I just, like, truly thought that was it for the rest of my life.
You had accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, like, I still get...
Well, at the point, you probably didn't even know it was treatable.
Yeah, 100.
You didn't even know what it was.
I was like, what is happening to me?
I think in
so
general,
weird.
the stigma...
Why am I afraid of XYZ? Like, it's...
Literally, your story helps a lot of people in the fact that they... Like, I feel like the stigma's been squashed a lot about addressing mental issues.
Yeah.
Maybe too far, but at least, like, we know their issues, and we know that people can treat them. And in fact, you become sometimes better to those around you and yourself if you do treat these issues.
Yeah.
And addressing them. Like, it's healthier to acknowledge the issue rather than just trying to do whatever you can.
Exactly.
Coping.
Exactly.
Doctors are important.
Yeah. Yeah. But
do you think religion had any part to play with your OCD?
Oh yeah. Oh, this is a fun one. This is what? So I was born and raised Catholic. I'm not Catholic anymore. I would just like to clarify. I'm not.
We don't judge here. Come in, we're open.
That's true. That's true. It's, it's just been a process.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure Jeff was in a cult. So as long as
he kind of started telling me that story.
No, okay. Well, anyway,
that's a whole
you'll
nother,
have to listen to
that's
the
a whole
episode.
other story.
I
but yes.
refuse. No, I'm kidding. No, okay. Oh, this is like to answer your question earlier too. This would have been way earlier.
Yeah.
This would have been grade school. So, born and raised Catholic school, sex is bad. If you have sex, you die.
I believe that thoroughly. I'm a firm believer of that.
If you have any sex, you will get pregnant immediately.
Yeah, well,
I think Austin's having so much sex so he can go to hell.
That's my main goal. I'm like, this is the only thing I got. This all this sex. Hopefully, it gets me there. So raised Catholic,
and I remember this story to me is funny, but some of these things I'm like, oh God, I can't believe I ever did that, and I can't believe I'm saying it out loud.
Okay, we'll paint a picture.
Cracks me
how
up.
How old are we talking?
Seventh
Context
grade.
helps.
I was
Seventh
seventh grade.
grade.
However old you are in seventh grade. Catholic school, I had sex ed in fifth grade and still didn't know what the hell it was. I was masturbating at that time, but I didn't know what I was doing, like
No one does.
like I knew if I rubbed my crotch against the arm of a couch, like something beautiful and magical would happen. But I didn't know yet that was also like the feeling you would have if you had sex.
Yeah.
So I was just like, this is great.
Is anybody else doing this? This arm couch thing? Is anybody else?
Oh my God. And at the time, so it was the time where Usher was really big.
Don't bring him into this.
So I was
Pretty sure he's still huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my sexual awakening was to his 8701 album, and I was just like, God, how does this make me feel this way? I don't. But okay, so then Catholic school one day, 7th and 8th graders have not like a pep rally, but like everyone gets together in the cafeteria for a speaker or whatever. And the speaker was there, and she was basically like, if you masturbate, you're going to hell. Like, masturbation is premarital sex. It's a mortal sin. Do not do it. And it was like a whole afternoon to like the 7th and 8th grade.
She doesn't have 45 minutes to burn on fucking why you shouldn't masturbate.
And of course, all the 8th grade boys are like giving her hell, as they should. And in my little brain, it's starting to sink in like, oh, I think that's what I'm doing. I must be sinning.
It dawned on you.
I'm like, oh, this is a sex thing. Like, this is what I'm doing. So then, of course, I'm not going to stop masturbating.
No.
But then I would just, whenever I would masturbate, I would pray a rosary after.
I mean, I think
You still do that?
Everyone should, I think. That is a funny thing where you're like, nope, this will cure it.
Well, I was convinced that to punish me, God would make me pregnant. So I was like,
I like how you're like, no, OCD didn't kick in until 14, but I didn't have irrational fears of like religious brainwashed irrational fears. That like how
It sounds like you got it bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up. I see what you did there. Can we say it for people who don't know? That's an Usher song.
That's so anyway, just I won't interrupt.
No, that's quick. I mean, that's the story. I figured out it was a sin. I thought if I masturbated, I would get pregnant. I was still masturbating, so 8701. So then I would just...
Children trust adults so much, and when they tell us shit like that, you believe it.
Yeah. And my parents aren't very religious, but they also were never talking to me about sex. Like, we had the one talk, and then that was it.
Yeah,
and part of that talk was me asking my mom, well, what does it feel like? Meaning, like, what does a penis feel like? And I was like, is it hard or soft? And she was like, well, it's kind of, can go both ways. And I was like,
honest, I guess.
was like, oh, like a hot dog? And she was like,
yep.
And she decided to be, she in that way was like, oh, I just scarred my daughter forever. Now she's going to, every penis she sees, she's going to think it's a hot dog. But it's like, no, we don't have to worry about that. We have to worry about magical pregnancies. God is spiting me.
Immaculate conception.
Yeah. I like how, you thought that he had that much, like, just, I'm keeping my eye on this one young woman.
OCD is a very self-important disease. Like, all of a sudden you are 100% the center of the universe.
Well, that's like a tough habit to break too. Even with the last few years, people are like, "This is my life's worse than everyone else's."
Yeah,
it's like, we're all suffering right now. Don't worry about it.
Well, then I remember I somehow got my hands on a Plan B, and I was like, "Oh, nice. Well, now I have Plan B. I don't have to
That'll
the rosary anymore."
I like how that was
medication.
You're like, thank God I don't have to pray. Thank God I don't have to pray anymore. I got this magical pill.
Oh,
who knows how that works? But thank goodness.
Then my mom found it, and she was like, "What is?" We sat down. She found it in the trash, and we sat down, and we had a serious conversation. She was like, "Kelsey, if you're having sex, that's okay. I just want to make sure you're doing it safely and with someone who respects." Like, it was a really, she approached it well. And I was just like, "Oh, no, I masturbate." She was like, "Bitch, we're going to the OBGYN right now."
That's so funny.
That's not how shit works.
I like how you confess to her. You're like, "No, I'm masturbating." And she's like, "Excuse me?"
What do you think masturbating is?
You're like, it's fine to be horny, but don't be dumb. It's fine to be horny.
So absurd.
That is, but I had a weird, I never thought I was pregnant from masturbating because I never, but I had an interesting upbringing where my mother had bought me a couple Playboys in our penthouse and was like, this is sex basically. Yeah. And so I was like, not encouraged. I was basically encouraged to masturbate.
I think that's fine.
And it was like, it was basically like, have a healthy outlet. Yeah. Or do it. Learn to do it now, so you're not doing it where you're not supposed to. You know. And I was shame. And I was never raised religious, so that wasn't part of. We had I had a very open, honest household where my mom.
The way the church paints it is weird. It's like God has a webcam on us.
Yeah.
When we're in the shower doing that moment when you're playing with things, and it's like, well, God's watching that.
He's such a creep.
And like I said, to think that he had to worry about you. Yeah. You're like, God.
He specifically was watching me every night.
He was donating to that.
4041 Drive.
Yeah. So.
Well, when you were boys, teenage boys, I've one of my best friends will joke about when he was a kid, before he kind of realized that he just stuck his dick in everything. He was like, I stuck my dick in the fridge, I stuck my dick in the couch, I stuck it anywhere I could put it. Yeah. Yeah. And now he's kind of embarrassed about that. And I'm like, well, that's silly because we all, I hump the couch, you put your dick in the fridge. I
got called out by my mom because I stuck my dick in the whole Vaseline jar. didn't even scoop a little out. Just left a fucking hole in the Vaseline jar like it had been cored out. Like a fucking drilling tank. Like a drilling tank had gone through the Vaseline jar.
Oh, man.
And my mom just like popped the lid and was like, yo, you stick your dick in this? Like it was obvious. I was like, yeah.
Like a mold? Like a mold?
No, so like a Vaseline jar, it has like a like it's like a it's a jar and it has a cap that is big enough you could put your dick into the thing. And
I
so
like the sound
and it was like
effects
it wasn't even cool. It wasn't even cool like masturbation. It was just like, this is a mess now. I gotta clean it up. Shower can't even get Vaseline off. You have to like fucking pressure wash that shit.
That probably maybe felt good. I don't know.
It's like a boxer coating his fucking eyebrows just so it doesn't get damaged next time he gets punched. But yeah, so my mom was just like, well, this is your Vaseline now. Like, you stuck your dick in it. Like, you're able to use the rest of it, but no one else is going to put this anywhere on their body.
No.
But yeah, it was just like, yo, dude, you stick. And I was like, yeah. Also, well, I heard that it was cool. I heard the Vaseline was like, not. It wasn't that cool. I mean, especially that much Vaseline. It was too much.
I remember asking my dad. Well, I was in hanging out with a bunch of friends, and we were about to go to a laser light show of the Backstreet Boys. Oh, wow. If that dates this at all. And all my friends were older, and they're all talking about porn, and I had no clue what it was. So I'm just like sitting around in this. We all get into the car. We're on the way there, and I'm like, hey, Dad, what's porn? And like all my friends are like smacking me like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Yeah. And he was like, what? And I'm just like, corn? What's corn? And he was like, you're so silly. And I think he definitely heard me, but didn't want to have to talk about it. I had just found a cover up to make it keep going.
Yeah.
But I remember that one.
Well,
the corn.
It wasn't Vaseline, but
I don't know, probably 3-4 years ago, Pornhub got me on April Fool's Day.
How?
I went on to Pornhub. I didn't even remember it was April Fool's Day, and they had changed it to Cornhub.
It was all,
and it was just like videos of corn being processed, corn in the fields. For like 45 seconds, I was like, "Who's jerking?"
Did you get into it?
No, I was like, "Who's jerking off to these corn videos?" And it was like the recommended video. I was like, "What the fuck is?" And then it dawned on me that it was April Fool's Day. It was like the only April Fool's Day joke that was played on me. It was like Pornhub. I was like, "You guys are good. That's funny."
It hits in Nebraska, dude.
I bet. Yeah, I bet.
Corn porn.
Corn porn.
Well, just like real quick sidebar, I think this is a great idea. I don't know if I'll have kids, but if I have a kid, I've heard what parents are doing now is they buy their kids like magazines so that they have that before they go onto the internet. And
it's like a soft. My mom, I remember asking a few times, hey, will you buy me a Playboy or whatever? Yeah. And she, one time just came back from the grocery store and she like tossed it in my room.
Oh my God. Now one of my favorite
And it was
things,
like,
even as an adult, is to be like, Dad, I watched this great porn. And he was like,
Well, and it was a nice introduction to like, I think women, my mom was, I don't know if she knew she was like a core feminist, but definitely that of the sort.
That's badass.
Like built garages, like she was a badass woman. But I don't think she realized that. One time, I remember the Lorena Bobbitt incident.
Oh, yeah.
She told me that's what happens when you disrespect a woman is you get your dick cut off and thrown out of a moving vehicle.
I love your mom.
She grabbed the dude at Taco Bell once by the tie and told him to stop fucking around and insulting the older generation. We're three of us boys. We were in Taco Bell. We're all fucking waiting to get our bean burrito, and this dude's like insulting this old lady because she like can't count change properly or something like that. Oh. And so then my mom just like reached across the counter and just yanked him in and was like, "Hey, you need to show a little respect." And me and my
Goals.
brothers were like, "You fucked up, dude. We've been there." Like, you idiot. I remember my mom. Yeah, I remember my mom introduced me to the finger. She flipped someone off on the highway, and we were all like, "What was that, Mom?" It's all nothing. But it was like still an honest. Like, I've always been like swear words were never like real bad. There was a few that my mom didn't approve of, and you had to make sure to stay away from, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But also there's just insults or bad words that aren't even good.
Yeah.
Or just like not in the right place, right time, which I've learned.
Yeah.
So you what was like introduction to pornography? When was like when did you cut back on the armchair? When was like
when did I learn how to for real masturbate?
I mean, the imagination's always like a great thing to be able to work with, especially. Man. But when I
will say, as I moved into high school, I still had some magical thinking around, like how you were actually able to get pregnant. Like, I had a boyfriend in high school. It was cool.
Brag.
I got my first kiss at 17. Don't worry, guys. And there were still things that made me nervous about like being intimate with him that I had no need to be nervous over, like semen through the jeans, like can't get you pregnant.
What?
You know when you're making out?
Everyone always tells me that. They're like, "You cum your pants already?" Yeah. No.
I have a joke about that. About like going on Yahoo Answers, and Yahoo is like, "Yeah, bitch." Like that's how I was conceived. Do you guys remember Yahoo Answers? Also, God, the garbage.
I one time
stuff.
looked up, how, like I was in astronomy class. I looked up how does a star die, and it said overdose or usually from age or something like that.
It's genius.
The sex things on were just complete fear mongering. Like, but
that's what the internet runs off of.
My first porno ever, my friends bought me Edward Penis Hands.
No way.
Yes.
You had a parody porno for your first pornography?
Baby.
Edward Penis Hands? That's like the worst.
And it came with like a big pink dildo. And to this day,
wait, it was like
I never know what happened to that. And this is when I still was in high school. So I'm convinced one of my parents found that and was just like, we don't want to know. And like either used it or tossed it. I don't know.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is a scary looking porno. Yep. What? No.
Yeah.
That was your introduction to porno. I am. Man.
But we watched it as like a joke. Like me and all my friends like watched it in the basement.
Oh, God, that's not what I wanted. I'm clicking on it.
That's cool.
I like reading. Like there's a book that really got me going.
He looks like Jack White.
Yeah, he does.
I remember reading porn.
Yeah.
The Penthouse had a forum.
Ooh, cool.
And it was like erotic stories.
Yeah.
I read 50 Shades of Grey in jail with like 12 other dudes surrounding me.
Did you pass it around and like people?
No one else wanted to read it. I was like hard around a bunch of other dudes. I was like, this is rocking. You guys, has anyone else read this?
God, we should have recorded that as a podcast, dude.
Just
a bunch of guys in jail reading 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, just
you
one
can
guy.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just one guy.
One guy.
Oh,
reading.
you weren't in a book club. Everybody else.
No one else. Like I said,
I just imagined everybody else was doing it too for some reason.
Their loss. So you would read porn or
just like in books, like there's this book called Atonement, and still to this day, there's like 3 pages in that. So I'm like, oh baby, you know, like. But then even I have always, to my core, been the biggest fucking dweeb. I tried real hard. OCD kind of ruined that for me too, because when I was early in high school, I was fucking badass. I like wanted to be punk, and I was like going to punk shows all the time and like moshing. And then when you get OCD, you can't mosh if you're afraid of touching people.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, I guess I'll like Taylor Swift now or something. Like OCD is making me like shitty music. I don't know. I can't go to Vans Warped Tour anymore. I'm fucking pissed. But so I'm a nerd.
Punks
always
are carrying
been a dweeb.
diseases.
Yeah, for sure. But I like have been at a show. I was like a 15-year-old at a show, and like a grown man was pissed and like punched me in the face, and I was just like, rock and roll. Like I thought that made me cool. I don't know.
It did.
I watched a guy lose a tooth at a Christian rock show once, and then he like grabbed his buddy and was like, "Dude, I just lost my tooth at the basement show." And like,
I have this is like pre me trying to be like punk rock. This was like emo Kelsey, but one of my first concerts was in Good Charlotte, and the drummer like threw the drumsticks out into the audience, and I tried to grab it, and like a grown man, I mean, looking back, he was probably older 20s, but he fought me for that drumstick, and I still have a scar on my pinky from like fighting. He won. He
talks about when he whooped up that girl at the Warped Tour.
That was at the Do Tour, actually. Nice. I'll let you know. Oh, no, but back to porn. Then when I got into college, I just remember asking all my guy friends, like, can you guys, they would literally, like, put porn on DVDs for me and be like, here you go. And it was, like, the pirate ship porn, like, do you remember?
It's so funny you had dudes burning porn for you on the
LimeWire kind of stuff,
yeah,
share.
Yeah, and then my friends and I would, like, pass it around, talk about it.
Porn club, like a book club? That's so funny.
And then, then you get into, like, the internet porn. And now, I mean, not to sound like a complete bitch, but I do try and pay for all my porn now.
Really?
That's dope.
Interesting.
From, like, an ethical standpoint.
Yeah. Totally, yeah.
And I really sound like the worst right now.
No, because if it, I mean, everybody regrets it afterwards. That's like a normal thing. You're like, fuck, that was disgusting. I can't believe I just did that again. And then, but if you pay for it, you feel at least you contributed.
And there are, like, certain female directors who direct porn, and you can pay for it, and like the actors basically can do whatever they want. Like if you want to wear a condom, you can. If you don't want, it's like all actor driven, and it's a female run company. And I'm like, and whenever I say that to people, are like, oh, so it's just like romantic, and I'm like, fuck you. Like, no.
Laura literally looks up the category of consensual. Like
that's badass.
She loves it.
Well, and I mean, even the category. I mean, there's now a full category that's like one of the biggest ones. That's just called porn for women.
Yeah,
and it's just like more, I guess, passionate or.
I think the stigma's also gone a lot for women for sure. Watching.
Yeah.
Well, and we've all got our things in porn for sure.
Yeah. And I like the one I love, I'll shout it out for all the women listening, but it's called X Confessions. And essentially what people do is they write in like their fantasy and then she'll create it. So you're getting all different, like you're getting a lot of gay porn, you're getting group sex, you're getting solo stuff, you're getting private, public, on a motorcycle, in a water, like it really, you can go anywhere with it because it's all these different people being like, hey, this is what I want to see.
That's what porn should be.
And then she makes it, and it's pretty badass.
Yeah. One of the only OnlyFans that I've like paid for and really in like, I guess, invested time into. I guess I'll shout them out. It's called Sparks Go Wild.
Okay.
And it's just a couple who like adventure vlogs.
Hell yeah.
And it's like hot sex on top of like the mountainside where they could get caught or whatever. So it's like risky public sex, but like on the backpacking trip or like on the side of the road in their van or whatever.
Van life.
Yeah, they were like, I mean, that was like the first.
You got your van.
Yeah. Yeah. Inspiration. Yeah. So shout out, starting only. No, I'm not.
I can't live the lifestyle if I don't have all the equipment.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and it is like a weird, it is like a weird subgenre that I didn't really like, but I like adventuring and I like to be out in the woods.
Yeah.
But then to like, I don't know. Yeah, it was something that I didn't think, and to watch the same couple have sex a bunch of times over again, and
you're along with them on the journey.
Yeah, you're basically like, now I'm invested into these two.
I know. I follow a couple on OnlyFans or Chatterbait. They're on Chatterbait, and I like, I'm just like, oh, what are you guys doing these days?
Yeah. Hey, how's life? Still got the dog that wandered in every once in a while. I loved when he did that.
I'm afraid of falling in love with a porn couple and needing to do a podcast with them, though.
Oh.
Being like, you guys should really, this is a whole nother market that you guys haven't really considered about.
That would be so fun.
It would. I'm
You can promote yourself and give a full scope of who you are.
Yeah.
People can fall in love in even a whole nother way.
Well, I think Pornhub has like a few podcasts underneath it and stuff now.
Cool.
I've thought about putting, I have like clips even that we've talked about, like the Pornhub comments, which is like one of the most supportive places you could ever be. It's crazy. Like I've just seen people have full conversations, addressing even issues. Being like,
there's a lot of really cool Reddit threads of like what I'm sure you guys know that, but like there's like a lot of, I love Reddit for that too.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Reddit.
It's like, hey, I'm looking like right now I want to see nipple play and this and both are coming and da 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 da, and then you just have like a plethora of like, oh, here's the list I keep at all times.
What's your normal Reddit page look like?
Mostly it's murder stuff.
Murder stuff?
Yeah, like ask Reddit, like, hey, have you ever, or spooky. I really like spooky stuff.
Yeah, I'm into that. The thrill of watching some, and especially when it's a real story.
Yeah.
My Reddit page is way more perverted than that. I thought that conversation was going to go two ways.
Well, if we're being honest, this
of course we're being
not
honest.
OCD at all, but over the pandemic, I started another Reddit page. I didn't put porn on, but I just started putting like a bunch of nudes on Reddit.
Nice.
Yeah. It was like, for me, it was like a body positivity thing. Like I wasn't feeling great about myself. We weren't seeing anyone. And I realized like, ooh, I don't like this. And then there's like a Reddit thread called like normal nudes. Mm-hmm. And then I found
Gone
a bunch.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's the same idea.
Yeah. And
I'm a fan.
Sexy fracks. I'm just like, I haven't done it for a while. So anyone out there, I don't know if you'll find me.
I know, the ones I follow
6 months.
on Reddit.
But I have a separate thread. It's like, or a separate profile.
Sure.
That's like sexy Kelsey and murder Kelsey.
Nice. That's tight.
Yeah. Mostly like
I've seen you murder on stage, so it lines up.
Now I just gotta do porn on stage.
I follow like braless for some reason, which is just like women not wearing a bra. And I'm like, this is hot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I follow one that's just like dudes masturbating.
I've streamed myself on Chatterbait.
Yeah.
And it was mostly dudes.
Okay.
I think that tuned in.
Was it good for you though?
I had fun.
That's
it was
what
like,
I like about like that makes me feel really like that turns me on.
Yeah.
It's a performer aspect.
Yeah.
Right? It's the performer and the person that like likes to get a reaction out of an audience. I don't give a fuck who the audience is.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time I would have preferred a female audience because I've only done it like a few times. And like the comments would be like, nice cock, bro. Keep it up, dude. I'm like, thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I will say, even on the
really appreciate it.
normal nudes thread, which is where I started, and that's like very decidedly not sexy. Like you're not supposed to do angles or anything, because the whole point is like everybody's
supposed to be
beautiful.
normal. Yeah.
Take a picture of yourself and. But
and it's guys and girls. Yeah. Like it is normal nudes. It's
but
just
even
nudes.
with that, like some dude in Germany became like obsessed with me and was like, "You're beautiful," and I was like, "Thank you," and I was like, "No, no, I don't need you."
Yeah, this is not what it's about, God. This is for me, not you.
Nothing better than leaving them on red.
If we're gonna like tie all that back into OCD, I appreciate like that is. I mean, so you just heard. Like little, I thought I was going to get pregnant to where I am now. And I think exposure therapy helped a lot with that, where it's just like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel shame.
Well, and I was curious about, I was going to ask, did OCD ever really affect like your pornography or like sex life? Was there times where OCD, where you're like, hey, I got to stop or I can't do this?
Germs, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking was like, I mean, sex is great, but it's also can be gross, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's
100%.
I mean, it's fun, but
Yeah.
also, so I was curious, like the thought process or what you were almost dealing with, I guess,
Yeah.
with sex, where you were like, this is germs, this is gross, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things I think I avoided for a long time, or would go like very long in between because it just stressed me out because of not rational things. Like, yes, sex can be inherently risky. And here comes 15 years of therapy. Like, sex is inherently risky, but it's not immoral. It's not a given. Like, I think for me, I used to think, like, if I have sex, there's 100% chance I will get pregnant. Or if I have sex, there is 100%. I was never.
It was in extremes.
Yeah. Or like, if I have sex, I will get HIV. Like, it was always the extremes. Like, I don't give a...
You did think there was HIV in the trash can.
I think there's HIV everywhere, to be fair.
That's
like,
the media.
well, now, like,
That's
I am
the media telling
very
you.
afraid of... Asheville had a very big heroin problem. So there are
a lot of needles.
Lots of used needles everywhere. And that freaks me out.
You started at a school and you were like, teacher aides, I don't need this.
My therapist would be she was like, if I could have my dream, there would just be a street full of used needles and you would have to roll around in it. This
was wait, what?
Because exposure therapy, you're exposing yourself to your fears, and it's like the chance of you getting HIV from stepping on a used needle is even like 0.003%.
Oh, thank God, because I didn't know. I mean, I still had that probably fear where I'm like, any needle's got.
Oh, it's gross.
Any needle has HIV. I've seen them.
Hepatitis.
That's funny because I feel like I do have fears that you have, but yours are
crippling.
Like
crippling.
Yeah, crippling.
Yeah.
Like Super Saiyan version of like
Super Saiyan.
We're like, of course.
Or there was like a rabies. What's wild about
rabies?
OCD,
You were feared of rabies? I want to hear about rabies.
Or not rabies. OCD goes. It's like it's a gopher game. Like you tamp down the hand washing. Okay, now I'm afraid of. There was another year or two where I stopped driving because I was always worried I ran a baby over on the highway and didn't know. I was like, maybe I drove a baby over. So I would just go circle around the block, around the block. Is there a squashed baby anywhere?
Oh,
you know?
my goodness.
And then, okay, so now that's tamped down. And now, like, I don't know, I'm afraid.
That's the compulsive aspect of it, where it's not obsessive over one specific thing. It's like it moves.
It's definitely morphing. It is a smart disease where it's like, you think you got me?
It's got a lot of variants.
I like a French disease.
Oh,
here it comes, OCD.
So it like went way into rabies for a few years. I was like, bats are after me. Like, I still don't love bats because I'm like, are you gonna give me rabies? Because you die.
They're flying needles.
Well, it's all these things, like, I don't want to die of rabies. Like, that's horrible. Like, it is once you start showing symptoms, like, you're a fucking goner, you know? So, it's all these big, scary things where it's like, so yeah, with sex, it was a lot of just really I would go to therapists that would just be like, go have sex. Like, that is your therapy. Like,
go get laid, lady.
Expose yourself.
Your exposure therapy.
Well, and still
be safe, be respectful, like, make sure but do what you want to do, and we'll talk about how to do it safely. But go give some blowjobs and get laid and try some new positions. And it
for sure.
And I'm grateful for that because obviously I'm now comfortable talking to y'all about like, oh yeah, I've run at this and
well, and it's like I said, when you go anytime I've ever had weird, I guess I've had some weird sexual experiences, but like when it like the energy changes and you're both like, hey, this is like it's not happening. Like I don't know if I'm just like, and it's usually just being overthinking the situation or having something completely different on your mind.
Or if it's like you don't feel comfortable.
It's just,
I've had moments where it didn't end. You know, and I'm like, I'm good. And she's like, that doesn't make sense. No guy's ever like that.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, I just don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I realized instantly, mistake.
But it's cool to have a therapist and then you go back the next week and she's like, so
how
what'd
was
you
that
do?
dick? Yo, girl, tell me about that.
But to go from Catholic school where it's like, if you masturbate, you're going to hell, to over the past 15 years working on a thing where like, this is natural, you're an adult woman, you have needs, you're allowed to do what you want. I think too, even in college, sex to me was like, as long as you're in a relationship, and that is important to some people, but it's not important to me. But because of going to Catholic school where it's like you save yourself until marriage, and then that doesn't happen, and then you're like, well, at least if I'm with someone who loves me, and then it's like, and I say that mockingly, and it shouldn't be. That is, some people want that, and that's completely reasonable and beautiful. But I think therapy also helped with like, hey, you don't have to do that. Like, you're allowed to explore
well, you can
different
keep those
kinks
feelings
and fantasies, and it doesn't make you immoral, and like, go do it.
That and being able to like separate the two.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I mean, obviously there's a right and wrong way to do it, but there is times where you don't want to necessarily have those other emotions involved, or situations where they're just stay in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that aspect brings out different pieces of a person. Like, I know somebody that has a cousin that like waited till marriage, and then once they got sexually active, he became a different person. And
I've had friends that's happened.
It was
too.
it was due to aggressiveness, and like I mean, it ended in the hospital for the girl. Like, and it wasn't something that opened up in him until they were sexually active. And it just made him a different person because they did wait so long, and he had a different aspect of like ownership.
Like a bad person.
Oh,
I
for
know
sure.
of people who were raised very religious, and then once you get married and you're like, okay, we can do it now, they don't do it for years because you can't just switch and be like, this was the worst thing I could do, to now I have to do this to make my husband happy or to make my wife happy.
Such a silly rule.
And so then like all of a sudden people get married and then it's like, oh, well, you can't switch that. I know people have gotten married and like gone for years without having sex.
Yeah, that would suck.
Ugh, it's the fucking worst. There's a really good book about it. I forget what it's called, but it's by Ian McHugh. Oh, Chesil Beach. And it's about a couple that does that. And it's like their honeymoon and just like their entire
It's just awkward
marriage.
situations.
Just like their entire marriage falls apart in 3 days. Because it's like because it's like they are not able to communicate what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They feel shame around what they want.
As they should.
I know.
As they should.
As my health teacher in high school really did say there's no condom for your heart.
I know that. You say that on stage. That's hilarious.
My health teacher writes my best punchlines. So I hate that shit.
We've been finished. Is there any questions for me that you have that you're curious about, or
what's your
or would like to know?
What's your OnlyFans handle? I'm kidding.
That one I don't.
No, I'm kidding.
I have thought about putting content out such as, but I haven't.
No, that I was kidding.
It's different with a comedy career.
Yeah, but I do like to show off in other aspects, I guess, in that way too.
I don't know. Is I guess just like what's y'all's relationship with therapy? Are you like diagnosed with anything?
When I was younger, like I said, I was given ADD. Was just basically dosed with like the 90s Ritalin.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it did affect me because like I went through a museum later on. I was in LA. And I went through a museum, and it was the Museum of Psychiatry.
Oh.
And they go through like World War I, World War II, and like the weird, crazy shit that they were just like testing things on. And this was all just like test subjects.
Yeah.
And then we got into the 90s, and they were like, then we were giving kids these drugs. And I was like almost like triggered at this like end where I didn't even donate. This poor lady was like, "Are you gonna donate?" I was like, "No, I hate that last room." It talked about medication. And so I was also just given, I was a dumb, I just wasn't intelligent. I was put in a lot of special ed classes, and special learning classes, which made me feel different than others.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, I guess, that was their form of what we think this kid needs.
Yeah.
And it was always not. I mean, I look back on it, I'm like, obviously, this isn't the way, your schooling system isn't built for my basically function.
Yeah.
Or like, because once I didn't appreciate a single class until I actually went to college. And I was like, oh, this professor has passion.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy is actually teaching this subject and I'm learning something.
And what you're learning, you actually feel like is beneficial.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's
in high
something
school.
I
You have
realized.
more choice. And,
In college, I felt like it was something I was going to use.
Yeah.
Like I dropped out.
Did you? I didn't. I went to school for marketing and did it for, I don't know, like 8 years. And I was like, I want to do comedy now. Bye.
I went to
But
2
that
semesters
ties in
of
together.
college.
Those, I mean, marketing and comedy,
I guess.
they do work together. You got to promote.
I guess.
Yeah, I went to 2 semesters of college and
Okay.
dropped out, started drinking again and dropped out.
Gotcha.
Dropped
So
out
you
of high
had
school.
You had a relapse.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I stopped drinking at the age of 19.
Okay.
And then I started drinking again not when I turned 21, but
Around there.
when I was about 21. It was after I had turned 21. Anywho,
And
thought
then
you had
got sober again.
24.
Gotcha.
So I spent a good 3-4 years basically. Maybe, yeah, just hitting it hard. I got arrested 3 times during those years. It was gross.
Okay.
But the therapy question is I'm not
Yeah.
currently involved
Yeah.
in any, or it was always felt like it was pressured
Yeah.
and or like put on me because I'm this. You know, it wasn't ever like, hey, do you want?
Yeah.
My mom I did some weird, I had there's an outdoor wilderness program that was for like troubled youth.
Yeah. My brother did that for
Yeah.
a while.
Mine was called Ascent.
Okay.
And my parents worked for this company.
Did you like it? I've
I
heard
would-
differing things. Like, did they take you out of your house in the middle of the night?
No,
Okay.
so-
Okay.
I've heard
Yeah.
of those though. Before.
So that's like I lived in that neck of the woods.
Gotcha.
So it was like almost like a test program where they were going to try to introduce a new like program basically, or a new way to go about it. So I was almost like involved with that.
Gotcha.
I mean, I still lived in a teepee
Yeah.
for weeks on end. There was a mess yard or mess hall or whatever we would call it for sure.
Yeah.
There was a program run by a guy that was like based on the outdoor stuff. And have you ever seen the movie Wet Hot American Summer?
Yeah.
Okay, you know the scene when the like professor walks in and says, "I'm looking for the like sciencey kids, you know, the board games, the video games, the indoor kids." And so the guy started a program called the Outdoor Kids.
Oh, you're
because it's
kidding
supposed
me.
to be the opposite of those kids.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, my brother for like 4 or 5 years worked as a wilderness therapy counselor.
Yeah.
And he loved it, and he's in grad school now to
For
be.
sure.
But that was like state. Like a judge would be like, you're either going to juvie or you're going to this program.
For sure.
The Van Gogh, actually, he was in a program, the artist, like he was in a program that his therapist, because like he was insane. I mean, he cut off his ear.
Yeah.
Like he was literally hearing voices and all that stuff.
Yeah.
His therapy treatment was to go into with nature. Like it was like a program that was basically, and that's why he painted so many trees
Oh,
and
I
painted
didn't
so much
know
nature.
that.
Yeah, and countryside, because he was
The-
forced to.
The Van Gogh Museum was closed when I went to Amsterdam, so
Rip.
didn't know anything. Medication is a weird one too. Like, I am generally against like using someone as a lab rat for meds. On the other hand, for myself, like there's no way therapy would have worked as well. Like I needed both of those things when the OCD was really, really bad to be like, let's like it helped the therapy work more. Like if I could just calm down a little bit and then the therapy helped more. But I like go years on, years off.
For sure.
Yeah, because I don't love it. I don't want to be on it, but it's also easier now. Like I was saying, the first time OCD happened, I just thought that was going to be my life. And what's nice now is I understand the signs, and I'm like, we're rearing up for a bad one, and then I can like get myself. Also, therapy is weird because I've never really done talk therapy. Like OCD therapy is very exposure, response, prevention. What are you afraid of? The best example I've ever heard, and this isn't mine, I would tell y'all if it was, but someone was petrified they were going to eat a battery on accident and die.
That's daily occurrence in the U.S. I mean, I think it's 17,000 people a day randomly.
I can't tell if you're being serious. Evan.
How many people a day eat a battery on accident?
But therapy for them was first, they just had to, like, if you and I were in therapy and you were my therapist, you would just hold a battery. And just, like, that would make me nervous enough knowing it was in the same room. But, yeah, then you hold up to, like, then I have to hold the battery.
Will you
then
film?
I have to put it in my mouth. And, like, that's exposure therapy is you go, okay, like, if this is your fear, what does on a scale of 1 to 10 of I'd be okay and I would run out of the room tearing my hair out. From 1 to 10, you build it up to that 10.
I feel like you could write an amazing sketch for OCD therapy.
Oh my God, it'd be so much fun.
You should put that out.
Do you guys really want to know
how
many batteries?
I do.
Each year, more than 3,500 people die of swallowing batteries.
I bet it's so many kids.
That's chump change. Let's get those numbers up.
This
is my shout out, public service announcement. If you're not fucking eating batteries, start.
Let's take those AAAs
eating
to double
batteries.
A's.
Yeah, let's double those numbers. Let's double A those numbers.
I'll run through this quick, but one of my funniest exposure, I've done group therapy too, so I've done individual and group. And group was cool because you got to see what other people were going through. Because, like, you feel crazy, and then you see someone else, and you're like, you're a fucking nut job. But it's also, like, we're all in this together. And my favorite was the one place I did group therapy was above a daycare. And there were these big windows. And a very, very common type of OCD that, luckily, knock on wood, I've been dealt with is being afraid you're gonna rape someone and not knowing and like not be able to stop yourself. So there was a woman in our group therapy who was petrified she was a pedophile.
Oh my
She was
goodness.
not. She had never molested or touched a kid. Like, it was just her brain. So her exposure therapy would go downstairs and look at the kid.
God. That poor woman.
Which I just think is the fucking funniest thing in the world.
And
like all these parents, like obviously as a parent you'd be petrified of like an actual pedophile, and here is a woman in therapy just looking through the window at all your little kids like, do I want to fuck him? Do I want to fuck him? I don't want to fuck him.
Yeah, I just picture some woman that's in the corner of the room just putting off weird energy where she's just like cringing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And even just not being afraid you're going to do it.
I know.
I mean, that's scary what the brain is
you
capable
walk around
of.
the kids like, have you seen me before?
It's also very, like, I remember going home that day and crying and just being like, her life, like, it truly ruins lives. You know, she never got married. She never had kids. She doesn't go around her sisters, her nieces and nephews. And it's just like, it truly can ruin an entire life.
I mean, that's scary. In it deep too. Like how do you, to come back, I guess, from that.
And she's not a bad person. Like, I would like to say, like,
well, I think there's something to be said about brains.
Yeah.
Like, brains don't work properly all the time.
No.
I got very close to somebody who had a lot of issues, and it was the first time I had seen somebody struggle. And I was like, oh, you're not doing this on purpose.
No.
Like, nobody would. Nobody would choose this.
It's not attention-seeking behavior.
Yeah,
it's like,
no.
Yeah.
And it's even just like you wouldn't want this life. Nobody would. And it is a struggle for a lot of people. It's interesting.
Evan, what about therapy for you? Yay, nay?
I'm in favor of it.
Yeah,
I'm not in it right now.
Yeah.
My parents were almost too easy to throw me in it.
Really?
They'd be like, "Oh, you're smoking weed? We need to get you into therapy."
Yeah.
Oh, you broke up with your girlfriend? We need to get you into therapy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always thought that it's there for like a common cold. Like it's there as an option for literally anything.
So your dad, my dad is very
The complete opposite. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, my mom passed when I was 5. And so as a kid, he was like, "Oh, this is what children need."
Oof.
And he went through it too. I mean, being a husband that lost his wife, he had a lot of stuff to deal with. So he went into therapy. And
I'd imagine, one, that's rough at 5 years old. 2, it's like, I need support. Like, how do I support
well, he didn't think he
kids?
could deal with it.
Yeah.
He was literally like, "We need a professional to step in."
Yeah.
And then so I think that became his solution for everything.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit, we had a fight. Let's get a third party in here."
Yeah.
But it's useful. Like I watched it work for not just me, but plenty of people.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah. To me, it's like the health clinic.
Yeah.
It's just there for everybody. Which sucks that it's expensive.
Yeah.
It should be one of those things that are given.
Oh, it's so expensive.
I know.
God, I spend so
Yeah, I
much
think
money
that's
on it.
part. I think that's part of the reason that I've just not raised with any wealth.
Yeah.
To where it was a very like almost
It's a
privileged,
It is,
a privileged thing where, I mean, I was sent outside. I was told to go fucking play in the woods and cure some shit. But therapy was always, I think, one of those ones that cost lots of money.
Yeah, even with insurance, it can cost people like $400 a week. It doesn't cost me that much, luckily.
Yeah,
But
there's no way that I could afford that right now.
Oh my God.
I have friends that could use it and don't because of the financial situation. And that's fucking sad.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
It is a bummer.
Any other fun questions for Austin? I'm sorry, I brought that in a weird place.
I mean, we're talking about therapy. And
That's true.
any other questions? I don't know.
You ever try
anything-
electric shock therapy?
No.
No?
Except that is a...
You're worried about getting electrocuted? Here, touch
I
this,
am
I'll
afraid
touch
of it,
that. Yeah, Evan got electrocuted. That was tight.
Oh, shit.
Jester's Palace.
No, that is... People still use that electric shock therapy in a different way. I've heard it's actually can be super beneficial.
In that museum, there was some crazy...
Some shocking images.
yes.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry.
Puns just make me nervous.
No, just weird ways that people were trying things out.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm so into, oh my God, I would love to get into I mean, I've done mushrooms anyways, but the whole like ketamine's more for depression, but for OCD, it's like microdose mushrooms.
Psilocybin.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the ketamine treatment the other day. I've eaten a lot of mushrooms, but I ate mushrooms before microdosing was a thing.
I know,
It was like, here, eat a quarter, I dare ya. And then it was like, yeah, here we go.
Well, but microdosing is a specific like method that you're trying to take very small amounts.
Well, and it just never was a thing. And no.
For OCD, they
That's
show...
fucking chump chain. You want to fucking experience some... Only
there's
a little bit older. Yeah, no.
There's for
It was
real...
never a thing back in the day. I ate a lot of mushrooms one summer. I was on probation
Did it make your
where...
OCD better.
I remember you talking
You're
about
still
this.
whistling.
Yeah, that was the whistling thing's only been within the last 2 months. I think the weird one with the door is that my roommate has a dog and it got out once,
Yeah.
and then he got all angry, and I was just like, I don't even want to deal with that. So that's when the door thing, because before that I was never known for locking doors. I had roommates that were like, dude, can you lock the door?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, no one's gonna break in. What are we gonna do? I was also raised in a very small town where we never had to lock doors. Like nothing ever happened.
When I was a kid either.
Yeah. So it was like a bad habit of mine where roommates would get pissed at me.
Yeah.
But now I have like a weird one where I have to have the door locked. Where I walk, it is bad actually. It's getting bad. Where I'll go in my room, put on like a video or watch some Netflix, and 5 minutes in, I'll have to like get up and go check to see if the door's locked because the wind is blowing it up.
Life hacks.
I know.
Don't do Don't fall down that rabbit hole. Don't break your shoulder again from.
His gallery is full of just
Yeah.
videos of him
Yeah.
locking the door.
Well, Kelsey, I appreciate
This
you.
was so fun.
Yeah.
I was real nervous, but y'all
There's
are
no
great.
reason. There's no reason to be nervous.
No, I know, but I
Just
appreciate
honesty.
you guys being
Yeah.
open to talking about OCD shit.
It was fun. It's something that I feel like you've opened my eyes to, that I probably have more than I think I do or admit to.
It's a unique story that's true to you, Kelsey. You know what I mean? That's why it's fun.
And I have a weird way of tricking my brain into just thinking if I don't admit to things, it's not true. So if I don't admit that I'm sick, I just won't. I'll go days.
Yeah.
But I'm not ill. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by.
I appreciate you guys. This
Let's
is
go
the
get
most
some
fun.
Let's go get some stage time.
Woo!